Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Sunday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe. At Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. The orange turn it on too late after chipping away at a 23-point deficit. Syracuse would come up 7 points short as there just wasn't enough time left to dig out of the hole they put themselves in. So, again, Syracuse never hanging their heads in this one, but a 73-66 loss nonetheless. You'll hear from us, and we'll hear from you in fan feedback. And Syracuse will host the Hokies this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We'll let you know what we think about that. Kind of par for the course. It's becoming Groundhog Day. Coming here, I feel like, whether it's a win or a loss, it's kind of the same thing. So... You know, I mean, how many times can you analyze the same type of issues? Although this was not as sloppy, it was a little different. So we'll get into all of the woes. But first, let's hear what Coach had to say following the game.
I thought the game really was, obviously they got off to a great start shooting the ball, but we did a little better job defensively after the first part and kind of battled back a little bit, but we just made so many mistakes that we really haven't been making. We missed two layups. Jesse missed two. Joe missed two in the first half. You can't do that against Virginia or anybody, especially on the road. But I thought, the last 12 minutes we moved better offensively. We didn't really get only one steal out of the press, but I thought we got better movement on offense, and we got Joe some shots. Joe and Judah were 2 for 7, 1 for 7 the first half, something like that. And, we need those two guys to score. The last 10, 12 minutes, I think they both were well into double figures and kind of got us back a little bit, but it was too much. We weren't going to get back all the way, but I'm proud of the way they fought back. I thought Malik playing 40 minutes, he hasn't played all that much, and I thought he was really good. I thought Chris and Justin were good. Jesse's he's kind of a mystery right now. He's not playing the way he was early in the year. He was a different player. He's just getting pushed out and not getting to the basket. I thought Munir really gave us a big lift at the end of the first half. He blocks two or three. Would have probably been a 15-point game at halftime if he blocked 2 or 3 shots and we were able to get something out of that at the other end. But
starting John Bull over Malik?
Well, I thought John does a couple things for us. He's got a couple things we run through him that we tried. I didn't really just want to tell Malik you're coming home and you're going to start. You just come off the bench like you have, and that was it. He played really well.
Yeah, Coach, back here, you talked about Malik and Justin playing a lot of heavy minutes today, both freshmen from this area. Just kind of how have they progressed this year, and what stood out about them when you were going through the recruiting process with them?
I think they're both good players. I think they need this year. I think most freshmen, they need that first year to figure out what you got to do. They've both contributed in different situations quite a bit this year, more than maybe I would have thought, but we're young, so we have to play those guys. But I think they're going to both be really good players. They're not quite ready right now, but they're learning.
Coach, back here, I know a lot of the times the forwards are often criticized for their play. How do you feel that Chris Bell and Justin Taylor played today?
I thought they did a good job. I thought they made a couple shots. Chris made his shots. I thought Malik did a good job on the boards. We did a pretty good job on the boards for us. This was a pretty good rebounding game. But we made some errors that you just can't make, and some defense, some offensive errors. But, Virginia's going to take advantage of them. That's what happened.
Jim, apparently Virginia had 22 assists on 23 made shots. Were they doing anything different to attack the zone?
Mike, you understand that when you play a zone, every pass, every shot they take is going to be assisted. That's why they're going to get assists. Every shot is assisted. The way we play, when we use the pick and roll and we're driving, there's no assist there. So we're not, I've explained that about 100 times. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Way to end it as awkward as possible, Coach. Poor Mike. All right, look. Yes, the Orange start struggling early from, Joe. Took Joe 10 minutes to score a point. He ended up, 2 for 8 from 2-point range and finished strong 5 for 9 for 3. So, pretty decent.
Yeah.
Problem is, once again, it came a little too late. So UVA, they get off to a fast start. They hit a couple threes right away. You kind of know the situation that we're going to be in. We kind of knew coming into this situation. An excellent 3-point shooting team. They're very balanced in their scoring, and I think 4 out of their 5 starters had all double digits. And they're one of those teams that's just unselfish play, but calculated. And they actually came out a little faster than I thought they were going to. I don't think they had.
It's only fast because they didn't miss shots.
Yeah, I know. That's true too. They were hitting everything, and of course Syracuse was missing early. And like I mentioned, he didn't score until 10 minutes into the game. But to just sum up the game as a whole, again, this team, as I mentioned in the open, they do not hang their heads in failure in a game where they're down 23. They still come back and they fight and they claw their way and end up, a 7-point loss, but still a loss. So again, the common denominator is in the familiarity that I'm talking about at the beginning of the show is that they start slow, whether it's this, that, or the other, and finish strong. But when you put yourself in a hole like that, it takes way too much effort. And kudos to them for fighting in this game, the Pitt game, but both put themselves in a bad spot right off the get, and you lose. Because this was a winnable game.
Yeah, it was. And, when you're on the road and, you got Benny sick. And,
right, on the road, too. Right.
And, Benny's sick, and we know what type of team, Virginia is. They had the same team, same starting 5 last year. We know how Kiki Clark, how he handles the 2-3 zone and everything like that. And he's always played good against Syracuse. And, we've mentioned it, and so have our fans and fan feedback that, that we've been fortunate in some games to start slow, but be able to come back. And that, there's going to be teams in the ACC that you're not going to be able to do that to. So, and I'd probably say that number 11 in the country, Virginia Cavaliers on the road, probably, is one of those teams. So that's pretty much what we saw. Again, I liked how they fought. They came back. You saw that they were starting to do things. They figured it out. They were figuring out Virginia, It looked really, really ugly. We were down as much as, I think, 17 in the first half. We got it within 9 before halftime. Then we got down by as much as 23 in the second half, and we ended up losing by 7. And, that's with, you look back, Joe Girardi made that 3 when we had that illegal screen. So this game could have been a little interesting. And one play here, one play there, if that ball goes in, then you never really know. But they fought back. And, if anything, without Benny and allowing some of these guys to get some good minutes and experience against a team like Virginia is it's the way they finished both halves. Really, it gave me a lot of confidence in the fact that it gave me more confidence in thinking that beating Virginia at home here at the end of the month is definitely a possibility.
Say that last thing again. I missed it.
No,
I'm sorry. I was reading something.
No, that's fine because I think that there's a lot of fans out there looking at Virginia as possibly the best team in the ACC and how they've played, being ranked 11th. And I think they automatically looked at the 2 games against Virginia as losses. But I think that the way that they performed and started to figure it out and how they finished in both halves, I think it gave me more confidence in a chance that we could actually beat them when they come to the Dome at the end of the month.
Well, when I see this team react to most teams that they're playing and coming back, I feel the same way. But the problem is that it's kind of like I said, Groundhog Day. We're dealing with kind of the same type of thing. Top fan Brandon on Facebook. He says, I mean, we've seen this script go on with the same strategy every time, expecting a different result. I think the joke's on us at this point. The 2-3 zone does not stop 3-point shooters. In many ways, it actually helps them. That's yes. Well, we know well, I don't think the zone is designed to stop 3-point shooters. The problem is that you can the zone makes mediocre shooters look really good. I mean,
sometimes
you can have a guy just go off because of the zone. But
yeah, but you look at it too. It also makes you fall in love with the 3. And albeit they started really, really good. When you look at it, we had a better percentage from the 3-pointers than they did. They just had more.
They just threw up more, yeah.
Right. So realistically, I don't think this game was lost on the defensive end as far as guarding threes because they missed their fair share.
No, I think it's lost offensively.
It was 16 to 10 turnovers. We had 16 turnovers. We missed a bunch of little bunny layups, and
Coach mentioned 4, but there was more. Coach mentioned 4 easy ones that were missed, but there was more.
And they scored 5 extra points off free throws. I mean, those are your main things. Near the end when you had to foul and we gave them those points. That's what we had to do as far as desperation mode. But if you don't have all those turnovers, or you convert some of those possessions into baskets in which we had some easy opportunities, then we're right there in the game and those free throws don't happen. So to me, it was essentially, the turnovers that really did it for you. And obviously the fast start, but we kind of eliminated that. And then we allowed them to do it again in the second half. So
yeah, there was some, like I said, I wish second chance points and points off of turnovers or box score stats somewhere. Sometimes you can find it, sometimes you can't.
We won rebounding.
Yeah, I know. +7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we should have, by the way. It's just a bigger team. We should have. But when you say, well, we won rebounding and Chris Bell played 16 minutes and he didn't grab one of them. I mean,
he didn't have anything in the box score but fouls and points.
He threw up 3 shots. He made 3 shots. So two threes and a deuce. So, I mean, maybe he should have shot more.
I mean, Taylor missed more and Taylor played more minutes, but he filled up the box score.
Yeah, he did. He had some assists, 2 steals,
rebounds. Yeah.
So, to the Chris Bell situation, I guess, Coach didn't have anything really bad to say. I mean, I don't know what you can say in 16 minutes, but like I said yesterday, he stands around like a statue, and people brought to my attention that, I said specifically on defense. When people brought it to my attention, like, he's doing it on offense too. So I started paying attention, and he sure was.
Yeah.
He just stands there, like someone said on Twitter to me. He's standing in the corner waiting for the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not helping. And if you're going to go 3 for 3 and cash in 8 points, then that's great. But let's contribute to some other things besides fouls, because that's the only part of the box score that he had a number at besides some points in minutes.
Yeah.
With 5. So,
yeah, I think sometimes you need to change it up. And I mean, you see Samir Torrance, he came in and he didn't really I don't think he put up any points, but I think he led the team in assists with 13 minutes with 5. He changed it up and he actually got the ball to some people. And, it might be a situation where we need to just start playing a little bit more with the lineups. I mean, Malik Brown played a good game, but he also made some mistakes, and he's a true freshman, so I understand that. But
Copeland came in for 1 minute and made a mistake immediately and was taken right out.
Yeah, and then kudos too for Boeheim to take out Jesse when he realized he was struggling and have Hema going. I mean, Hema
came up big.
4 blocks, 5 rebounds. Yeah. He came in, and it's good to have those kind of things going on. So again, I mean, I would just like to see a little bit less of like, we know what we have with those guys, enforced stuff, and get some of these guys some opportunities. I'd like to see Samir get 13 minutes, 15 minutes a game, maybe tinker around with a 3-guard lineup with, a Jesse and a Malik Brown. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but it's difficult for me to justify some of the playing time and some of the games and how the stuff goes. But again, we're not the coaches. We don't see what's going on in practice. There's injuries, there's illnesses, there's things going on. So you just got to hope that they're, obviously making the best decisions and trust that they are. But I like to see those other guys in there because they prove to put up to help and do things in the box score.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different, and when you talk about depth, it's a different kind of depth. There's almost an answer for any situation if you can just get a little bit more experience under the belt of some of these guys. And with Justin Taylor out there, he's playing the 3. So it's kind of like I don't know what you want to call that when it's Mintz, Gerard, and Justin out there. I mean, he does play more like a 3, but coach was talking about, next year he's going to be moving into the 2 spot. So it'd be interesting. I mean, not for anything with having Benny out, I think that what he did yesterday, I mean, it seemed to work. I mean, I don't know what the difference is if Benny was in there, what a difference he would have made. John Bull started the game, but Malik Brown got 36 minutes. I mean, John Bull got the other 4, and that position's filled for the game.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, there was no reason to take him out, in my opinion. He was playing hard.
Malik,
there was those freshmen. Yeah, Malik. I mean, he's a little bit smaller, and you saw him. He's got to learn to go to the hoop a little bit stronger and not get blocked and all that other kind of stuff. But that's just the difference between a freshman body and freshman mentality. But overall, I think that he played really, really well. Yeah,
and he got to the free throw line a couple times.
And he had 11 points, 8 rebounds.
Right. Yeah. So I'm happy with those kind of numbers from many of these guys who play kind of like a sketchy allotted amount, right? So you never know how many minutes John Bull is going to get. And Monir Hima, in fact, is like one of those guys. And he probably surprises me more than most of the other ones when he comes out. I mean, he's just a block robot. I mean, he's just good.
No, yeah, I mean,
he's
he
just
fouls
good.
a lot too, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, he does. But you get those fouls though. Well,
but he's guarding it, right? He's guarding the hoop. He's making you work for it. And at the end of the day, like I said, kudos for Boeheim to see that Jesse wasn't really himself and wasn't playing the way that he normally plays to change it up. And I think that the better the coaching staff gets at recognizing what games these certain players should be playing more than, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but Virginia Tech normally plays 3 guards, and they're normally a smaller team. So that's a situation where you can go 3 guards and kind of change your lineup and stuff like that. So, we just got to be able to recognize it and recognize when, Joe Girard needs to be pulled and calmed down, and when Jesse needs to be pulled and let Hema go in and do his thing. And, it just seems like that's getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
as far
like
as coaching staff goes.
Right, and here we are, it's like halfway through the season. So, I mean, but you got to look at the big picture, and that being, Syracuse 10-6, 3-2 in the ACC. That's still really good right now, and with heading home for a couple games, and we'll just we'll see what it does. But
it's workable.
It's workable, yeah. I mean, it's still not like last year was when you're like, we're screwed, right? So,
pretty much.
Alex on Facebook, we missed too many open shots. When you play tough teams like Virginia, you have to cash in on the opportunities they do give. Love the fight in this team, but we may need a year until we get it all going. That's what I was kind of. Did I say that to you or on the show? Like, if we get this good core group back, if you don't have to deal with the portal bug, and we can get a good core back of these guys, this team's gonna be really good next year. I feel like.
But that's assuming that Jesse and Joe and Judah are all coming back.
Well, not necessarily even. I mean, you have to have somebody, right? Judah, I mean, I would throw him in the coming back pile, if you will. But obviously Jesse and Joe, I don't know. I'm not sold on either one of those, but if Jesse came back, that would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. But anyway, Torian. They use the press too late. Virginia is a team that Cuse needs to mix up the defense with. They kill our zone every time, and we use the press to get back in it. Why do we use the press when we're down 20? Well, I mean, how do you feel about when is time to do it, first of all, right? So,
well, I mean, realistically, like, unless you're good at it, unless you have the personnel for it,
right? Which we might. It's mediocre. It's mediocre. It's better than last year. It's mediocre. But the problem is I think a lot has to do with the experience of the players that are in there. I've noticed just you keep Jesse down there, and Coach said in the press conference he hasn't been good. Right? He's had some troubles the past couple of games, and I've thought it's been better than the past couple of years for sure. But how long can you do it for? Is the thing, before you're just getting smoked.
Right, I get it. I mean, I feel like traditionally, and I mean, I know that you can go back to the 80s and back in the day where he did play man and he changed it up and we had, teams full of NBA players. But in the more recent decades, normally he doesn't press unless he needs to. It's a desperation move for Boeheim. It's not something.
It's a back pocket game plan.
Right. And again, it just comes down to that's different types of styles and schemes. Normally, you can get away with getting maybe some less athletic players or things like that and still be able to get away with playing a 2-3 zone and having a good team. Doesn't mean that those players are going to be able to necessarily be great at, doing a full court press. And we saw last year, and we knew how bad that was too, right? So he just traditionally doesn't do it unless it's desperation. And sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't. But the thing is when you do it and you don't have a good team that does it, then beating the press can lead to very easy baskets on the other end. And realistically, I don't really understand why you'd want to press the issue if, you're still in the game or it's early in the game. So
right, it leads to easy buckets. In with us, that's the biggest problem. It almost seems like a waste of time sometimes.
Sometimes it works, right?
But there's a window there where it works. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by when do you start? 12 down.
Essentially, what you're doing is you're just speeding up the game.
Right, you're trying to have them make mistakes.
Get them to make mistakes. Maximizing your possessions, giving yourself more time and more chances to make 3-pointers and to, cut the lead.
Top fan Jesse. Brown and Hema looked really good together defensively. Wonder if something's wrong with Jesse. He hasn't looked great since Cornell game, and he's the most consistent player on the team. He's been good against ACC bigs in the past. Well, like Coach said, I just think he's getting out muscled, and he missed a couple easy ones. He's missed a couple easy ones the past couple games compared to what he's done in the beginning of the year. So no one's alluded to having an issue, but he's just not the same player, I think, that he was. And he can get that back. Some of it's confidence, some of it's just maybe frustration. And obviously, I think if I had to point to one thing, I'd say it's the level of competition.
Not only is it the level of competition, but it's also the schemes that go at it. I mean, you see these guys muscling them out and trying to push them out away from the basket, right? And I mean, if you've noticed, that's the scouting report, right? Judah's going to be Judah, and you're going to have to put a guard on him. But you, most of the time, put your best defender on Joe Girard and try not to let him shoot shots. And if basically it's keep Jesse out away from the circle down around the hoop. And push him out and try to muscle him. And if he does get the ball close enough to the hoop, since we've started ACC play especially, he gets doubled. Virginia came over and doubled him every single time, and then he's got to turn around and make a pass because the guy that's doubling him is a guy like Justin Taylor or Chris Bell, who's just standing over in the corner. So now he has to pass it, and that's where there's got to be more movement. When Jesse Edwards, when he gets doubled, there's got to be better movement on the other, like, without the ball, as far as his teammates are concerned, to help him make easier passes so that we can get some easy buckets. Because if you're being doubled, somebody's open. But if you're standing on the complete opposite side of the court on the 3-point line, then Jesse has to turn around and like throw it across the court. Like, that's not, by the time it gets there, then the defenders shift. And I mean, I saw it all game in Virginia. So it's not necessarily just Jesse too. The team needs to help him out a little bit to make his game a little bit easier, because that's how all these teams in the ACC have been playing Joe and Jesse.
Top fan Steve on Facebook. Bennett has the answer to the zone. Press came too late. Too many turnovers. Yes, I think it's a lot of the turnovers were probably the most frustrating aspect of the game for me. So, top fan Dave. I think the zone got smoked by the 3. It encourages that. Then the team rallied back during the full court press, but. Yeah, we kind of all had a feeling. I feel like that we were going to get a little smoked by the 3. I mean, I did. That's kind of what I mean, look,
Maybe not
team,
to that percentage.
Maybe not to that percentage and that fast, but 12 for 26 is not that bad.
No, it's almost 50%. That's good. It's just the fact that they started out so fast.
I mean, for 12,
they hit their first 5.
I wonder how much Syracuse averages against a game. So, I mean, we've seen upwards 17, 18, this year. It started out.
Sometimes that's the only way the teams can score.
Exactly. And then, when you're down 23 and you lose by 7, obviously what we were doing worked on defensively, and you could say it was too late or whatever, but I mean, we don't coach a team. And then
they started missing shots too. At the end of the day, like I said, I mean, like we talked about earlier, it's like the threes and what they did early wasn't the reason why we lost. The reason why we lost was because, we were sloppy on offense. Yeah, we had, like I said, we had 16 turnovers, and Virginia had 11 steals. So, I mean, when you really look at it, I mean, we gave it away. We weren't strong enough with the ball in Virginia. Then we know that they play good defense, and that's their MO, and that's what they did. So
I think Syracuse did pretty good against the defense, though. All in all, I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's amazing what can happen when you have a point guard that can actually go and create and beat their guy off the ball.
Right. That's what I was hoping personally would give us an edge if we were going to win the game, is to put it right down their throats and make them second guess why the hell they were doing what they're doing to begin with.
That's what's going to give us a chance every single game.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
At Oil Cuse, we didn't play well. Jesse played like a soft freshman. We missed too many layups, and the refs were awful. Yeah, that's baked in for me now. I'm almost unfazed by it, because when people were complaining about the refs, I was thinking to myself, well, this just feels par for the course.
They weren't great, but they were bad on both sides. So I mean, there's a couple plays you could point out.
There's a couple. There was like a makeup call at one point. Yeah, one saved us. That was the makeup call.
Well, they made a makeup call, but they called the foul when
the Joe flop, because Joe flopped.
Oh,
but there was a travel they missed too right before.
There was a travel, and you remember when our own guy pushed Mintz and they called the foul?
Yeah. That was the Joe flop. I believe that's what I'm talking about, the Joe flop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that was coming towards crunch time, too, down towards the end. So, all right, let's see. Who else we got here? We're in Twitter now. We're at Twitter. Let's just do a couple of these, and we shall move it on. At Baptized by Fire 7. I'm tired of these slow starts when the opposing team shoots lights out. Playing like this is not sustainable to even having a winning record to go to the NIT. But these guys go have brass ones. Do. I think he means do. These guys do have brass ones. Yeah, there's no quitting them. I'm not talking NIT yet. I ain't there.
Mm-mm.
No way.
Oh, no.
No way. We still got an absolutely legitimate shot at a real tournament bid. And when you look, and like Joe said, he hopes we go 4-4 in the next 8. So we're 0-1. And if we could pull out 4-4 in the next 8, we're looking good down the stretch, with the exception of Duke, NC State, Duke, Clemson, Pitt, all right in a row. But
Yeah, but at the end of the day, those guys, they're all the same type of teams. You know what
I
mean?
know. By the time
Clemson
you get there, yeah.
Clemson just beat Pitt, but NC State, that's an up and down thing. You know, they've lost some bad ones. They killed Duke. They got killed by NC State, and they barely beat Boston College last night. So when you look at the ACC, Virginia is the highest ranked team, and we made it reasonable in a game where they easily could have just blew us out like NC State Duke. Duke never made a run back against NC State to get it in single digits or make it look like a reasonable game. So, I look at it like the state of the ACC is I feel like we have a chance every game.
Yeah, and I feel like that's, even last year, I feel like we still had a chance every game just because of how the conference is, and it's all, it's conference play, man. It's just how it goes. And NC State beat Virginia Tech last night. So
yep.
What didn't we catch? What didn't we cover? I think we covered everything. Let's head back to Twitter, see if I can find something else. At No Blanchard 44, this team is poorly coached, not knowing when to foul, not taking good shots, not rebounding, etc. I'm just surprised we didn't lose by 30. Well, it was trending that way, and
it's true.
And I think really what happened was coaching. I think Coach means it when he says he doesn't know what to do. You don't hear too many coaches say, I don't know what to do. I don't know.
Just gotta. I think that normally he's just used to being able to rely on a certain 7-8 guys, and
right, and he's still
that's it.
Yeah.
But now, it's to the point where he's got to recognize who needs what and who's playing good, and does somebody need to sit down and get motivated? And he's got to navigate it through a lot of kids who are very. They play inconsistent, but they all are very, very talented. It's just you never know who you're going to get from game in to game in.
At Dave Toro 3, this year's Syracuse team is very young and in many ways quite inexperienced in situational basketball. That said, the team did mount a few moderate comebacks, only to fall short. I predict this will be Jim Boeheim's final season. Well, there you go. You and 50.
That's a good comment. I don't know about the final season one or thing, but
right. But that's what I mean by when I talk about next year. If you can get these guys back, you need mints. Have to have mints. Without them, it changes the whole face of this team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you get Jesse or Joe. If you get them both, that'd be great. I would love Jesse to come back. But I
would love for all of them to come back.
I would too.
That probably means someone's transferring.
Well, that, or they're just going to call it, a Joe. Technically he does have a year of eligibility. He hasn't. And he did miss a year of postseason play, which they were probably going to get into the postseason, or we don't really know, I suppose. But still, we missed it, called it quits on us. So anyway, all right. Let's move on to Virginia Tech.
Do it.
All right, Syracuse will host Virginia Tech this Wednesday, as I said earlier. The all-time series at 7 o'clock. The all-time series between Syracuse and Virginia Tech sits at 11-6 in favor of the Orange. The teams first met in 1976, with Virginia Tech taking the first 2 games in the series. The Orangemen and the Hokies only met 3 times while Virginia Tech was in the Big East. Syracuse would take all 3 of those games. The last time the teams met was in February of last year. A 71-59 win for the Hokies. Gerard, Buddy, Anselm, Swider, and Jimmy, your starting 5. 25, Buddy with 21 points, Anselm with 15 and 15 rebounds, and Swider with 10 rebounds, according to orangehoops.org. The Hokies are currently 11-5, 1-4, despite starting 11-1. They are currently in a 4-game losing streak dating back to December 21st, losing to Boston College, Wake Forest, Clemson, and as we mentioned just last night, to NC State. Their one win is actually against UNC when the Tar Heels were ranked. So we know they got it. Hunter Couture, he's still on this team. He's averaging about 10 points a game. A second-year guard, Sean Padula, is leading the Hokies in scoring with 17 points a game. And look, with Hunter, he went out in the Boston College game, and he's been game to game ever since. So missing the last 3. I don't know what that looks like on Wednesday, but with our luck, he'll probably play. I did reach out to Gio, who covers Virginia Tech sports over there in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. And he says he really doesn't know. He feels like if he had to guess, he would be out again. So there's that, but we shall go from there. 5th-year senior transfer from Wright State, Grant, is it Basale? Padula and Couture, if Couture plays, are Tech's outside shooters. The 3 of them combined for 37.5% from beyond the arc. The team shoots 47% from the floor, 34.5% from 3, and 74% from the line. They're averaging 74 points a game. So, Joe, this is a team that's in a little bit of a slump, which makes them dangerous to me. I feel like whenever you corner an animal, they're ready to bite, and this team's desperate for a win, and they're going to have to come on the road to Syracuse to do it. I feel like this is a good matchup for Syracuse, especially if Couture doesn't play. But he's a huge part of this team. We remember him from previous years, obviously. So, with that said, Joe, I mean, whether or not he plays, let's just assume he's playing. How do you feel about this?
Assume that he's playing?
I would assume he's playing, but I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, he's been game to game for 3 games.
Right.
So,
I mean, obviously they're a completely different game, or a completely different team. Sorry,
without him.
With him, and
right.
Because I mean, they had a 4-star point guard freshman that was supposed to come in, Rodney Rice, and he hasn't played all year. And Hunter Couture being out basically really, really limits the guards that they really have. So because of that, the only guards that they have that they really can rely on, obviously, I don't want to say rely on, but they've been starting Dion Maddox and Sean Padula, who have been playing over 30 minutes anyway, and then Michael Collins Jr., another freshman who really hasn't. He's not ready for the role that they have him trying to play right now. Has made it difficult for them. So they have been turning to Justin Mutz, 6'7" forward, who we all know, who usually plays the 4 so that they can play their 3 guards. Well, they're asking him to play more of a 3, which now means that they're looking at someone like a Grant Basil, who is a 6'9" senior transfer from Wright State, I believe, and other players like Lynn Kidd, who's a 6'10" junior, and also Myligel. It's a really, really weird. Myligel Poteet, who's a 6'9" junior as well. So what they've been doing is they've been having to move their basically whole lineup around to basically try to accommodate these injuries, and that's pretty much why they've lost the last 4 games. Not saying that they would have won every single one of them, but that just completely changes their whole team. So realistically, like I said, they have a lot of bigger guys. Then they look a lot bigger on the floor and in the starting lineup the last couple games because of the lack of guards that are actually available. They should still have 2 other guards available than the ones that they have and ones that they would trust. So completely different team with Hunter Couture. Obviously, we know him, we've dealt with him, and I don't know. I mean, I think that we have a really good chance of winning the game if he doesn't play, and I think kind of vice versa. Glad it's at home. Kind of wish it was, vice versa. I'd rather play at Virginia Tech and if Hunter Couture was not going to play. But nonetheless, being a home game, and if Couture doesn't play, then I think that turns kind of into a must-win. And
you have to take it. You have to take advantage of an opportunity of him not playing, because when we go there on January 28th, he'll most likely be playing.
Exactly, and it'll probably be a completely different type of team. And then, that's, again, kind of the opposite of what Virginia gave me, right? Because we already played against Virginia. That's one of those things. It's like, I really didn't even know that Hunter Couture was hurt until I actually looked this up yesterday, and kind of made sense to me as to why they've kind of gone on the slide that they have. Because, these losses haven't really made any sense. Especially, Boston College, Wake Forest, right? But I think he
played against Boston College. He played 30 minutes.
Oh, he did?
I believe so. Yeah, I can look it up real quick. But that's the game he got hurt in.
Okay. Well, realistically, with him, they could have won any of their other games.
And that was an overtime game, too. That was an overtime loss.
Okay, yeah, he played 30 minutes.
So...
it was an overtime loss, yeah. So, you could argue that if he doesn't get hurt that they win. So
absolutely. You could argue probably that maybe they win at least 3 out of the 4.
And just because he's not playing doesn't mean that the game's in the bag. They have a great coach, Mike Young. They play hard. They still, even though they've had their last 4 losses, they still rank pretty high in KenPom. They're ranked 42nd. We're up at 90. So, we need to be able to take advantage of this, and because it's home. Realistically, whether Hunter Couture plays or not, this is going to be our best chance of beating Virginia Tech, and we still got to play him again this month. So,
and it's a 7:00 game on a Wednesday, so both teams get an extra day. Right. I don't know if that benefits anyone in particular, but I think it helps both teams. Let's be honest. You got Benny battling, he'd probably be able to bounce back on a Tuesday, but definitely be able to bounce back on a Wednesday, right? And you get an extra practice in. They're traveling. So, it's a winnable game, I think, with or without Couture. It's just, like you said, have to capitalize on that. If he's not in there, that's a pretty big handicap. I don't want to make too big of a deal about it, but it's a pretty big handicap.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and no matter how you win, it's like the same thing with Louisville. Louisville was ugly, but at the end of the day, it's a W, and at the end of the year, they're not going to question that W. They would have questioned it if we would have lost.
Right.
And if we lose this and we're anywhere near the bubble, they lost to Virginia Tech without Hunter Couture. Like, it's going to look bad. Home game.
Right. Home game. It's a quad 2 game at home.
Yep.
Virginia Tech's 49th in the net, making this a quad 2.
So it would be a good...
It's a resume builder, especially when Couture comes back and they can start getting back on track with what they were doing before he was out, right?
Because that could turn into a quad 1 if they get back to where they were going.
Right.
There was, at one point in this season, they were looking like they were the best team in the ACC. Them or Virginia.
Yeah, no, they started 11-1, dude. They only lost against Charleston, which I don't know what happened there, but... They lost against Charleston. That was their loss.
Right, but then they turned around and beat all these other good schools, right?
Yeah, well, Charleston is 16-1, by the way. So,
okay, keep that in mind when the NCAA tournament comes around.
So
it'll be a 14 seed bubble burster.
Yeah, right. So there is that, and it was only a 2-point loss too. Right. It was 77-75. So, all right. Well, let's turn to the picks, Joe. I got to start remembering to ask folks about Z-Picks and getting their thoughts. We did that for football. Just so much easier for football. Why, I don't know, but it is to me. It's more, it flows better with football. There's a lot of things that flow better with football. Basketball's just, it's 2 times a week. It's all over the place, It
is. And a lot of times, there's not as much change from week to week. So a lot of times, like you said, it's kind of the same thing.
We're talking about the same issues, the same stuff over and over and over again.
And it's not something that you can necessarily change game by game.
And it's one of those things where, we're going to come here and do it, but I can't guarantee we're going to have like extremely new content, which is why we rely on good comments and to bring up some kind of conversations. There's a lot of stuff that comes up in the fan feedback stuff that, we didn't think of, and it creates a good conversation. So anyway, all right.
Yep.
At home, Joe, I think it's gonna be close. I think I'm going with my gut here. I am going with my gut. And if Hunter Couture does or doesn't play, I feel like they got to get this game, and it's an opportunity for a quad 2 win. Benny will be back, and like I said, this isn't a knock on Benny either. But I'm not sure what kind of difference it would have been had he played against UVA. I'm not real sure if it would have been much of anything. But I'll say that it doesn't hurt to have
Benny we got.
Right, exactly. So and it's just the inconsistency of the players on this team, and it starts. The one guy who really is consistent most of the time is Judah. Like, you know what you're going to get with Judah, and it's pretty much the same all the time. Does he make mistakes? Yes, that's inexperience. It's his age, But when we talk Joe Girard, now Jesse's in the mix. You talk obviously Benny, Chris Bell, Justin Taylor, Malik Brown. They've all been inconsistent at points all year. So, with that said, you're
the only time he's been inconsistent was when he decided to smack somebody.
Right, exactly. Which was right, exactly. So just immature reaction to a play there, and obviously he learned from that. So, look, I think Syracuse can pull this game off. Hopefully, Couture has to sit for one more at least. And we don't have to deal with him. It would be nice to only have to deal with him once this year. And I'm sure he'll be back and ready to go. And when he comes back, he's probably going to, he's going to go off.
Torches.
Yeah. So I'm going to say close game, 76-72. Syracuse wins. And that's kind of a homer pick, but I feel like Syracuse can win this game. And this was when we talked last episode about the wins, and I had 3 and 5. This is one of the ones that I had as a W. So with that said, that's it. That's it. With that said, I'm done saying stuff.
So your score is what?
76-72, Syracuse.
Okay. All right. Well, I think realistically, when you look at this team, I'm worried a little bit about Padula and Basil. The forward there, it looks like he's shooting the ball 3-point line about 38%, Padula about 35%. So they can shoot. So they got some guys. But again, different team than when Couture was there. And they're bringing in some bigger guys that I don't know how well or how efficient they can score. So I think that they're kind of looking at the defense and everything like that. And a lot of these games I'm seeing are played in the 60s. We have the ingredients. We have the ingredients on the team. It's whether or not Jim Boeheim can get the right combination in there that's going to beat the team that's in front of him. And I think that we do that this week without Hunter Couture, and I think we win 67-62.
67-62. Okay. And I almost made a prediction of overtime too, but I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not going to make that prediction. I'm just going to throw it out there that I did contemplate it. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know how well. I don't know if they got a guy that can guard Judah. And as long as the one guy I'm really worried about more than anything is Justin Mutz down and around the basket. If we can stop that.
Yeah, he's a problem. He's been a problem.
Yeah, but
the other thing is
he was a problem when they were playing 3-guard sets. He could be the 4 guy down on the baseline catching alley-oops and getting offensive rebounds. But now he's playing a 3. It's different.
Right. And here's just some food for thought too. And if you're Virginia Tech, it's a little motivation to get off the schneid against Syracuse on the road, because they've got to face UVA in Charlottesville, at Clemson, and then they get to go home against Duke. So, and then they play us again at home. So that's their slate for the next 5 games.
No, we'll see. I'm telling you. I was very impressed I've been impressed with Justin Mutz. But
He's always been good. He's been frustrating, very frustrating guy.
Yep. But Couture, I've seen him just grow and get better. And I mean, with Sean Padulas only a sophomore, and I remember him from last year, and I remember thinking, oh, this guy's going to be a problem. And I mean, this guy's he's averaging 17 points a game, and then leading the team with assists, 4.
Oh my gosh!
So,
hold on, I'm sorry, Joe. I missed this. So it's at Syracuse, at UVA, at Clemson, at home versus Duke, at home versus Syracuse, at Miami, at home versus UVA. That's a gauntlet right there, man. Be thankful. Like, we've got a couple little short stints, but that's a thread right there. No, that's a thread.
Holy.
So yeah. Anyway,
but they're good enough to win, especially if they're healthy.
Yeah, they are. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't start 11-1, and then they beat UNC. I don't want to say they beat them handily, but they beat them by 8, and they scored 80 on them. So I mean,
and Penn State and Minnesota and Dayton and Oklahoma State,
and also
and they got better wins than we do.
UNC was ranked at the time, so.
And they played at Charleston for some reason, so that was an away game.
That's true, yeah.
Why they did that?
I do not know. Why would you agree to that if you're Vautech?
I don't know.
I guess it's probably like maybe something similar to, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, but we played the Hoyas away and stuff like that. Yeah.
True.
One might be one of those things, they did 4 games, 2 at home, 2 away. Who knows? I have no idea.
No.
Anyways, all right. Look, that is going to do it for us. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. We're going to keep this show under an hour tonight. Thank us, all right? We won't put you through the whole hour and 35-minute gauntlet again. So we will be back here Thursday night to talk Vautech. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.